Liven that up just a little bit. Good morning, everyone. That's a little bit better. That's good. Glad you all are here this morning, and happy Mother's Day to all you moms. And I pray that you will enjoy your day today, and that your families will show the love and the kindness and the graciousness that you deserve. Okay. So with that, I think there's even a little bit of something that we have for every mom that's here, and I'll let Pete explain that because I have no idea what it is. It looks like a bag that I would have for lunch or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm glad you guys are here. If you wouldn't mind, please, could you join with us? We're going to go ahead and begin on this beautiful Lord's Day, the day that the Lord has made. So what I normally say is that if you feel so inclined, we encourage you to stand at least to begin with, so that we can all kind of worship together a little bit. Let's go ahead and do that this morning. So if you don't mind, let's go. Are you guys ready? Team, are you all ready? Everybody ready? Okay. All right, here we go. Those who trust in the Lord are a strong mountain. They will not be moved. Those who trust in the Lord are a strong mountain. They will not be moved. Though the world moves like mad, you alone are faithful. Jesus, you will not be changed. Though the world moves like mad, you alone are faithful. Jesus, you will not be changed. Christ the King sets my feet on a firm foundation. They will not be moved. Christ the King sets my feet on a firm foundation. They will not be moved. Though the world moves like mad, you alone are faithful. Jesus, you will not be changed. Though the world moves like mad, you alone are faithful. Jesus, you will not be changed. Those who trust in the Lord are as Mount Zion. They will not be moved. Those who trust in the Lord are as Mount Zion. They will not be moved. Though the world moves like mad, you alone are faithful. Jesus, you will not be changed. Though the world moves like mad, you alone are faithful. Jesus, you will not be changed. Those who trust in the Lord are strong-minded. They will not be moved. Christ the King sets my feet on a firm foundation. They will not be moved. Those who trust in the Lord, those who trust in the Lord are as Mount Zion. They will not be moved. Hey, good morning. Pete's back in the cage,
Good morning.
guys.
He's back in the cage. I don't know what I did wrong, but I got sent back to the cage. Here I am. I'm glad you guys are here. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. Clearly, we're here to celebrate our moms as well as celebrate God, and that's a great thing to be able to do together. If you don't have a program, pick one up. They're available at the front door. Also, going out to the back parking lot. It gives you information about the church. It's got the scriptures for today to follow along. You can fill in blanks and so forth. There's information about ministries that are going on, things that are happening there, and so I encourage you to pick that up. While you're getting that, you can go on into the coffee bar area and get yourself some refreshments. There's coffee and juice and all kinds of good refreshments in there. I saw some fruit cups that looked really good in there. Anyway, so there's good stuff in there. It's all free. It's provided by people of LifeBridge for all of us on Sunday mornings, and just what a great blessing and ministry that is. And so, you don't have to pay anything, but just give them a thank you. That would be a great payment for the folks back there. And then come on back in. Inside your program, the only thing I'm going to point out right now is the fact that we have a Connect card in there that we ask everybody to fill out each week. It's a chance for you to connect with us, and if you want, we will connect with you. I encourage you to do that. You can check boxes and make comments and ask questions, but the part that is the most, really the most popular is the part that says prayer requests and praises. That's because the folks know that when they fill that out later on in the service, they will fold it up and put it in the offering bag as it comes around. I encourage you to do the same as well. They also know that after the service is over, and we're in our second service now, so when this one is over, these cards will be separated out from the offering and then given to a group of people who will be praying for you starting today, lifting you up throughout the week, praying for your friends, your family members, whoever you wrote down on there. Praying for whatever requests you wrote down, because it's important to you, and so it's important to us, and we want it to be important to God as well. You know, God is ready to draw near to us, ready to be involved in our lives, ready to provide us wisdom if we would just ask, if we go to Him in prayer. And that's what we do. We go to Him in prayer. And what we're going to do right now is draw near to Him by continuing to sing His praises in song.
Blessed be your name, and land that is plentiful, where streams of abundance flow. Blessed be your name.
Blessed be your name, when I'm found in the desert place, though I walk through the wilderness. Blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name on the road marked with suffering. Those paid in the offering. Blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Because you give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. Because you give and take away. Yes, you give and take away. You know my heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Oh, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name.
Bless your name this morning. And we thank you and we praise you that you've given us not just a beautiful day, but you've given us a gorgeous opportunity, a great opportunity to be able to just come into your presence and to just continue to sing your praises and to know that you are here amongst us.
There is an endless song echoes in my soul. I hear the music ring, and though the storms may come, I am holding on to the rock I cling. How can I keep from singing your praise? How can I ever say enough? How amazing is your love? How can I keep from shouting your name? I know I am loved by the King, and it makes my heart want to sing. I will lift my eyes in the darkest night, for I know my Savior lives, and I will walk with you, knowing you'll see me through, and sing the songs you give. How can I keep from singing your praise? How can I ever say enough? How amazing is your love? How can I keep from shouting your name? I know I am loved by the King, and it makes my heart sing in the troubled times, sing when I win. I will sing when I lose my step and I fall down again. I will sing 'cause you pick me up, sing 'cause you're there. I will sing 'cause you hear me, Lord, when I call to you in prayer. I can sing with my last breath, sing 'cause I know that I'll sing with the angels and the saints around the throne. How can I keep from singing your praise? How can I ever say enough? How amazing is your love? How can I keep from shouting your name? I know I am loved by the King, and it makes my heart. I know I am loved by the King, and it makes my heart. I know I am loved by the King, and it makes my heart want to sing.
Amen. Amen. I have to tell you that first off, I appreciate all the prayers and everything that have been kind of flowing my way recently because of illness and all that kind of good stuff. I guess it's not good stuff, but in any event, thank you for all of that. I will let you know that I am on the mend. Not so much they can do about the whole mental part, but at least the physical part is, getting a little better. Yeah, right. As I'm a work in progress. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Chuck. I appreciate that. Yes. I will tell you this, though. As I was preparing through yesterday, last night, for today, I was going through, of all things, the book of Revelation. Wow. That's an easy study. Wow. And there's a portion in that study where it talks about the new heaven and the new earth, and that old things are going to pass away, and God is going to create everything new. And I thought about that as I was thinking through the music for this morning, and this song kind of speaks to all of that, because when all of the heavens and the earth pass away and the new heaven and the new earth comes into being, then that's really the time when all of heaven, all of creation, everything will be giving blessing and glory and honor to our God.
When the stars burn down and the earth wears out, and we stand before the throne with the witnesses who have gone before, we will rise and all applaud, singing blessing and honor and glory and power forever to our God. Singing blessing and honor and glory and power forever to our God. When the hands of time wind fully down and the earth rolls up like a scroll, and the trumpets will call and the world will fall to its knees as we all go home, singing blessing and honor, glory and power forever to our God. Singing blessing and honor, glory and power forever to our God. Star of the morning, light of salvation, majesty. God of all mysteries, Lord of the universe, righteous King. Oh, Star of the morning, light of salvation, majesty. God of all mysteries, Lord of the universe, righteous King. There will come a day, standing face to face, in a moment we'll be like Him. He will wipe our eyes dry, take us up to His side, and forever we will be His. Singing blessing and honor and glory and power forever to our God. Singing blessing and honor and glory and power forever to our God. Singing blessing and honor and glory and power forever to our God. Singing blessing and honor and glory and power forever to our God. We pray, your kingdom come. Lord, we pray, your will be done. Every eye, behold the one seated high upon the throne.
May your kingdom come, your will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. Jesus taught us to pray that. In fact, He taught us to pray in a way that has become so popular, we call it the model prayer or the Lord's Prayer. You know the prayer, right? Father in heaven, you are holy, holy, holy. May your kingdom come and your will be done here on earth just like it is in heaven. Give us today what we need, our daily bread, and forgive us our sins in the same way that we forgive those that sin against us. And Lord, don't let us be led into evil. Deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, the glory forever and ever. Amen. It's good to take the time to think about the words of that prayer. If you're anything like me, you've prayed that prayer many times and from rote memory, to the point that perhaps we forget what the words are saying. It messed with you maybe a little bit, just me praying right now, because I messed with the words a little bit as I was praying them. You were ready to say what you know from rote memory, but I didn't change the meaning. I just made us pause for a moment to think about the meaning as we're saying it. This series has been about trying to understand that. What does it mean for God's kingdom to come, for God's will to be done here on earth just like it is being done in heaven? What does that look like? And we're looking at Old Testament time where God set up a kingdom with kings that He appointed. Israel is the kingdom, and we're now up to the third king, the one who was the greatest and the most popular, the one who had a kingdom that spread out the furthest of all of the times in Israel. This is the kingdom of Solomon. And last week we watched as David passed away, and he said to his son Solomon this: I'm going where everyone on earth must someday go. Take courage and be a man. Observe the requirements of the Lord your God and follow in all of His ways. Keep the decrees, the commands, the regulations, the laws written in the law of Moses, so that you will be successful in all that you do and wherever you go. Don't miss what he's saying here. You want to be successful, Solomon? Walk in the ways of the Lord. And the same thing can be said to all of us as well. You want to be successful? Walk in the ways of the Lord. You want to be successful in business? It may seem counterintuitive, but you want to be successful in business? Walk in the ways of the Lord. You want to be successful in your marriage? Walk in the ways of the Lord. You want to be successful in raising your children? Walk in the ways of the Lord. You want to be successful in any endeavor that you take on in this world? Walk in the ways of the Lord. That's what David told his son Solomon, and he might as well be saying the same thing to you and me as well. That if we want to be successful, we should walk in the ways of the Lord. If you do this, then the Lord will keep the promise that he made to me. He told me, if your descendants live as they should and follow me faithfully with all of their heart and soul, one of them will always sit on the throne of Israel. We covered this last week, and while we said that promise of having one of our descendants sitting on the throne of Israel, that promise is not made to us, it's made to David. But there are many promises that God offers to us when we walk in the ways of the Lord. The fruit of God's Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. Those are things that God gives to us when we walk in the ways of the Lord. He promises to be with us and provide success as we walk in the ways of the Lord, even for us still today. Today, we're going to be looking at the beginning of Solomon's reign. And I'll tell you, there is I can think of no more appropriate topic to be talking about as we're here on Mother's Day. Because you see, today we're going to be talking about wisdom. And wisdom is something that all moms need as they are raising their children. I can tell you that Tracy and I, we've joked about this before. And you've heard me, if you've been here before, when I've talked about this, you've heard me say this before. If you ask Tracy, she will tell you that she and I have been married for 27 years. And it's the best 19 years of her life. In the beginning years of our marriage, there was a lot of struggle. And it was because, quite honestly, both of us were selfish. I was more selfish than she was because as I was being raised, I had an older brother and sister, but they basically were moved out by the time I recognized anything that was going on. My brother's 14 years older than me. My sister is 16 years older than me. I was raised basically like an only child. I got everything that I wanted. Well, within reason, Mom and Dad would stop me from whatever. But the point is, I didn't have to fight siblings, right, for time and attention. I didn't have to do like the 6 boys who lived next door. When their mom rang the dinner bell, they would run to the house because they knew when the food ran out, that was it. So you got there or you didn't get to eat. The dinner bell was the signal. And so I didn't have to deal with that. So Tracy and I get married, and I'm thinking, I'm a good Christian boy, and I was raised in the church, and I went to parochial school, and, I know what it means to be a good guy. And so, we get married, and I'm thinking I'm all set. I'm a pretty good guy. And then we get married, and I find out how selfish I really am. I want it my way. I want to do things a certain way, And she wanted things her way. Even though she had a brother and sister living at home, she still, she was glad to get out of that home and wanted to have things her way. In the first couple of years, we kind of worked on each other to the point where we started to get better at this and started to figure out how to not step on each other's toes so much. And we thought, okay, we're doing all right. And then we had our first child. And I found out just how selfish I still was. Because children have this really uncanny way of doing things. Like 2 o'clock in the morning, they'll decide they want to eat. And they will let you know that they want to eat in no uncertain terms. And you can't press pause like, on the DVD player or the VCR player. You need to get up and feed them. And if you don't, they're going to keep letting you know that it is time to eat. They don't know how to tell time. They can't read the clock. All they know is that their bellies are hungry, and so it is time to eat. And so you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you feed the child, whether you want to or not, whether you got to get up and go to work the next day or not. The other thing that just kind of boggles my mind is that because they like to eat, it goes through their bodies and it comes out, right? And they will go to the bathroom anytime and any place they want to. They don't care. They'll just go, right? And then they will let you know that it is time to do something about that, right? And so you need to go and clean them up. They go, this is squishy. This smells awful. I don't like this. It's uncomfortable. I'm sure that's what they're saying because, they're using their own language that we don't understand. All they're doing is crying and screaming at the top of their lungs. Sometimes they'll cry and scream about things you have no idea what is going on. I didn't share this first service, but our first child, Rebecca, really got to us one night. So I'm blaming her like it was her fault. But we were up all night. She was crying and crying and crying and crying and crying and crying and crying. And Tracy would try to feed her. At this point, she was nursing, so she tried to feed her, and Becca wouldn't eat. And we tried to change her, and she was dry, and everything was clean, and we couldn't figure it. But she was mad. Oh, was she mad, and screaming and crying and screaming and crying, to the point that by about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, Tracy's bawling her eyes out too. And we don't know what to do. What do we do? And then it finally hit us. We went to dinner at Penn Station. Now, Penn Station is good food. We enjoy Penn Station, okay? And at Penn Station, they have this special drink there. They have real, squeezed from lemons, lemonade. And Tracy had a big, big gulp of freshly squeezed from lemonade. And it soured her milk. So that when Rebecca ate, Rebecca got a sour belly, and that's why she didn't want to eat anymore, because she's, I don't want that junk. That's just bad stuff. And she would scream and scream, and her belly was hurting, and she would scream and scream and scream. We learned, okay, Tracy can't enjoy that lemonade, at least not while she's nursing. We learned very quickly how much we had our lives kind of set around our patterns and what we wanted to do. And then we learned that we had to change our patterns to match what our child wanted to do, because they were a little less forgiving and a little bit less, a lot less flexible in the way that we worked with them. Now, as they grew older, we learned something else, that when children are little, they have little problems. But when they're big, they end up with big problems. Suddenly our kids are starting to ask us questions. We spend all this time trying to teach our kids to walk and talk, and then we immediately tell them to, I'm looking around, make sure to sit down and shut up, right? This is what we do to our kids. I feel so sorry for them. We call it the terrible twos, and we blame it on them. But you understand how hard they had to work to come up with the word cookie. And then we say, no. And they get angry, and we say it's their fault. It takes great wisdom to raise our kids, especially when they get to the stage where they start asking why. If I never hear somebody ask me why again, I would be totally okay with that. Why? Yeah. And eventually we run out of answers, right? I mean, we tell them the answer, and then they ask why, and then we tell them the answer to that, and then they ask why. And I don't know how far you go, but eventually we get to the final, ultimate authority in all of the universe, right? Because I said so. That was it. And our kids learn that because I said so is the final authority. It takes great wisdom to raise our kids as they get older, get into teenage years and young adult years. Suddenly they're spreading their wings. They are learning to fly. They are going out on their own. They are trying to become men and women and figure out and navigate this world, which gets more and more chaotic and crazy every day. More and more difficult for us to equip them to be able to handle as they go out into the world. But we do our best. We give them everything that we have. Blood, sweat, and tears. Lots of tears. And if you're anything like me and anything like Tracy, lots of prayers. Because you see, it takes great wisdom to be a parent, to raise a child. Especially to raise up a child in the way that he should go or she should go, with hopes that when they grow older, they will not depart from it. Moms, I salute you. Well done, good and faithful servants. You are doing God's call in your life as you raise your child. And yes, I know that it's not over. It never seems to be over. It just doesn't get over. It doesn't matter if they get to be an adult or not. I have this conversation with my own mom, who is years old, and she is regularly still being a mom to us 3 grown kids, right? It doesn't stop. We still love, we still care, we still try to build into as much as possible and build up. I salute you. Solomon needed wisdom because you see, when his father passed away, he didn't just give this nice thing about following the Lord. He gave him some other instructions that I skipped last week, but now I'm going to bring back. He said, you know what Joab, the son of Zeruiah, did? Don't let him grow old, and don't let him go to his grave in peace. I had to reread that to make sure that that's what it said. Don't let him grow old, and don't let him go to his grave in peace. I read it in multiple translations to make sure that the NLT wasn't messing with it too much, and then I went back to the Hebrew. Don't let him grow old, and don't let him go to his grave in peace. See, Joab had done some pretty bad stuff rebelling against David, and David let him stay as commander of his army even after all of that. But David said, Solomon, when you take over, it's your turn to make sure he gets what's coming to him. He can be kind to the sons of Barzillai of Gilead, but then he turns around and says, remember Shimei, the son of Gera? He treated David pretty badly. And he tells him with the ... what he's basically doing there is saying, now I promised that I would not put him to death, but you are not me. You can't directly put him to death, but you're a wise man, so you can figure out a way how to arrange a bloody death for him. This is the kind of stuff his dad left in his hands as he died. Then David died, and he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. David had reigned over Israel for 40 years, 7 of them in Hebron, 33 in Jerusalem. And Solomon became king, sat on the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was firmly established. We're going to talk a little bit more about the wisdom of a king. But before we go any further, I want to give you a chance to just express some wisdom and some love to one another and greet somebody today. So would you do that? Would you get up and greet somebody this morning? And if you got a mom that you're greeting, tell them Happy Mother's Day. And we can start heading back to our seats. We start heading back.
you.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Glad you're here.
Glad you're here. Love you too. We'll get it. I got it back there. That's where I talk about that. Yeah. I've got it. Thank you. It takes great wisdom to be a parent, and Solomon is given a kingdom of millions of people to lead, and he starts struggling with that from the very beginning. He makes some decisions that turn out to be decent decisions, but he makes others that are not. I remember when I was first going to seminary, way back when, before we came up here to start LifeBridge. And I wasn't going to seminary to be a pastor or to lead a church. That was not at all my plan. I was going to school because I wanted to learn what the Bible said about a bunch of things. My church background really didn't encourage the Bible reading as much. I learned a lot of good theology, really good theology. But I hadn't really jumped into the Scriptures. And so when I went to seminary, I was trying to jump into the Scriptures and find out what the Bible had to say about this or that or the other thing. I was taking a class that was intended clearly for people who were going to go into full-time vocational ministry. And because that wasn't my plan, I took the class because it was required. But, that's fine. I'm never going to use this stuff. And the professor in the class, he ended up saying to all of us, he was getting on us because we had not read this author and this perspective and that perspective. He says, you need to be better read. You need to start reading these books and learning where these people were coming from, because when you go out into your ministries, you are going to be the resident expert. You're going to be the one that they turn to for understandings of things like theology and philosophy. At which point, I did something that was not very wise. I just kind of had this gut level reaction, and I laughed. I went, and I didn't hold it back. At which point, he immediately looked over at me, and he said, "Is there a problem, Mr. Kursker?" You always know when you're in trouble because they call you Mr. Kursker. And I didn't think that I should tell him, well, Mr. Kursker is my father, I'm Pete. I didn't think that was a wise time to get like that. And I said, well, if people were turning to me as the resident expert, then that's going to be a really in trouble church. I got something to tell you. And I kind of laughed, and he just stared at me. He didn't smile, nothing. Now, since then, clearly I have learned to take my studies more seriously than that. And while I don't consider myself a resident expert, I do care very much about walking with God and helping others do the same. And I work very hard in reading and learning and studying so that I have something to offer to encourage and build people up into Christ, who is the head of the church. But it really hit me, that idea of the resident expert. And today, as we're thinking about Mother's Day, you are the resident experts. You're the one in the room. You're the one that the kids turn to learn everything from their colors and their letters and their numbers to is he a good guy to go out with on a date? And I'm really nervous about learning how to drive. Or maybe they should be nervous about learning how to drive. Moms, even more than dads, are the resident expert. You're the ones in the room more often than the guys are. And so they're turning to you for knowledge. They're turning to you for wisdom. Eventually they get up and they start going to school, if you send them away to school. And that can be a good thing, and that can be a frustrating thing, right? Because all this stuff that you taught them, then they start throwing it away as they go out and they learn from friends and they learn from other teachers. Some of it matches up, and sometimes it doesn't. I never forget poor Joshua. He came home from preschool, and he was absolutely convinced that his teacher taught him that few means two, and a couple means three or more. A few means two, and a couple means three or more. And he had that in his mind, that that's what his teacher taught. And Tracy goes, no, a couple is two, few means three or more. He goes, no, Mom, my teacher said. No. And it was rather frustrating for her because, she was being trumped by the teacher now. And clearly not accurately, because we know that that's not what the teacher was teaching. At home, we are the resident experts. And moms, like I said, even more so, because you're in the room more often. You're one-on-one with the child more often. And much of what they learn, the wisdom that they gain, comes from you, Mom, as you build into your child. I think about Solomon. Clearly, he would have learned much more from Bathsheba, his mom, than he would have from David, his father, because David was the king and busy doing all that other stuff all the time. We see a lot more interaction between Solomon and his mom, Bathsheba. Well, anyway, he had to make a lot of tough decisions. We see right away in the beginning, he puts Adonijah, his brother, to death because Adonijah was going to rebel against him. Abiathar, who was the high priest, gets deposed. I've got the references there so you can look up these stories. Each of them are interesting in their own way. Joab, the head of the army, is put to death. And Benaniah is put in place of Joab as the head of the military. Zadok replaces Abiathar as the high priest. Shimei is killed. He does come up with a wise way of getting Shimei to the point where he is put to death. And the kingdom is now firmly in Solomon's grip. He has tough decisions that he needs to make. And he feels all alone in this. We know that by what he says later. And I know, as a parent, that there were times where I felt alone, but quite honestly, as a dad, I didn't feel alone as much as I'm sure Tracy did, because there were plenty of times where I'm off at work and she's home alone with the kids. She was sharing just this week with somebody about her experiences with black rat snakes, because we lived in a farmhouse. It was an 1866 farmhouse, and it was not very well sealed up. With the house we're in right now here in Valpo, we fight having field mice come in every once in a while, and we'll deal with that. But back in Cincinnati at this place, there were snakes. And I mean, not little, they were 6 feet long, black rat snakes. And she'd go and find one in the kitchen, and have to get the kids out of the house, because the kids would come over our house and everybody'd come over and play. It was cool to beat up the old farmhouse, because you couldn't beat up the old farmhouse. That was the cool thing. So they'd come over and play at our house, and that was great. But now she's got, so she figured it out. She got a broom and she got that thing out of there, and it was hissing all the way. But she won. She didn't let that thing win. But before she did that, she called me, and I'm at work, of course, and I can't do anything about it. And I can't leave work because of the situation I was in at the time. Another time, a snake came in the house and made it upstairs to my son's bedroom and was going across his toy thing, and going, and she calls me that. I was out of town at work at that particular time. Thank God my parents were in town, and my dad was able to go over, and so I called my dad to take care of that one. He got that one out of the house out for him. But there are so many times, yeah. You guys wonder why we moved to Valparaiso. Yeah, okay, there you go. We chased out by the snakes. There are times where we feel like we're all alone in trying to raise our children, trying to protect our children, trying to Let them know that they're loved when they feel like they are rejected by the rest of the world. Let them know that they are valuable and they are important when the rest of the world tells them they are a mistake or they are a mess. It is so tough, the job that you have as moms, and I salute you again, because you are the ones that are teaching them. You are the ones that are building wisdom into them, and you are building the wisdom of God into them when it is true wisdom. Solomon, well, he made an alliance with Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, married one of his daughters, brought her to live in the city of David until he could finish building a palace, and she's going to get her own kind of palace, if you will, in the temple of the Lord. We'll get to that next week. And this seems wise to build alliances like this, except for the fact that God already commanded that the king must not build a large stable of horses for himself, send his people to Egypt to buy horses, and don't go to Egypt at all, for the Lord has told you, you must never return to Egypt. Solomon makes tough decisions, and sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're just wrong. He messes up. And you and I mess up, and moms, I'm sure that, if you think over things, that there would have times that you would say, yeah, I would do that differently. I would handle that one different than I did at the time. But God does not give up on us. And because of that, we do not give up on our children. We take that persistence from God and we pass that on from generation to generation. Well, Solomon offered sacrifices and offerings. I'm going to kind of skip over that first set of scriptures there, to God. And that night the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream and said, "What do you want? Ask and I will give it to you." And Solomon said, "You showed faithful love to your servant, my father David, because he was honest and true and faithful to you. And you've continued to show your faithful love to him today by giving him a son to sit on the throne. Now, O Lord my God, you have made me king instead of my father David. But I'm like a little child who doesn't know his way around. And here I am in the midst of your own chosen people, a nation so great and numerous that they cannot be counted." Notice what he's saying. This guy is the king of Israel, is leading 2 million plus people. And he says, I feel like a little child. I don't have the wisdom necessary to lead these people. It's a reminder to all of us. When we feel alone, when we feel like we don't have the wisdom necessary, even to teach our own kids because they're asking tough questions, or because they're going down a path that we know is not going to be good for them, and we're trying to figure out how to get them back on a good path, that God says, "What do you want from me?" And what Solomon asked for is exactly what we should be asking for. God, give us wisdom. Help me to know what to do here. Help me to know what to say. When to say something, when not to say something. God, the only way that this is going to work is if it is your wisdom being applied to this situation. Please, God, help me. Here I am in the midst of these people, a nation so great and numerous that they cannot be counted. Give me an understanding heart so that I can govern your people well and know the difference between right and wrong. For who by himself is able to govern a great people of yours? He asks for wisdom. And the Lord was so pleased that Solomon asked for wisdom that God replied, "Because you have asked for wisdom in governing my people with justice, and have not asked for a long life or wealth or the death of your enemies, I'm going to give you what you asked for." By the way, God promises to give us wisdom too, if we will simply ask. And he says, but for Solomon here, he says, I'm also going to give you what you didn't ask for. I'm going to give you riches and fame. For no other king in the world will be compared to you for the rest of your life. And if you follow me and obey my decrees, my commands, as your father David did, I will give you a long life. You see, if we ask for wisdom like Solomon did, God will provide it. Because he asked for wisdom and God did provide it. And not only did God give it to him, but he tells us through James, the brother of Jesus, if anyone asks for wisdom, God is faithful to give it to him. But when you ask, be prepared to receive it. Don't doubt. Because if you doubt that you're going to get it from God, then you're not going to get it. You're not going to be able to recognize wisdom from God versus not wisdom from God. And so God's not going to help you out there. But if you ask, if you expect God to answer, God will provide the wisdom that you ask for. Well, we asked some people last week what kind of wisdom they might have gotten from Mom or things that they learned from Mom. And some folks answered and were kind enough to do it on video. There's a lot of background noise, and so I apologize for the quality of the audio, but I just thought it would be good for us to take a look at some of the wisdom that we've gained from our moms. So let's take a look.
What's one thing that you've learned from your mom?
I guess I have to say I learned from my mom's strength. My mom's one of the strongest people I know. No matter how bad things get or hard things are, she always got up and kept going and taught us kids to do the same. So I would say that's probably the most important thing I learned from my mom.
My mother taught me how to shave, believe it or not.
One thing I've learned from my grandma is how to make peanut butter fudge squares. And one thing I've learned from my mom is how to make peanut butter toast. Peanut butter.
From my mother, Margaret Rodriguez, I learned the most important thing that I always remember about her. She said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Taught me how to make Kraft mac and cheese.
Okay, is that it?
Yep.
Okay. What have you learned from mom?
One piece of wisdom that I learned from my mom is when in doubt, do the kind thing.
One of the things that I learned from my mom is a love and appreciation of music. She was a very accomplished pianist, still is, even though age has impaired her somewhat there on the piano. But I always grew up in a house where there was music in terms of people were performing it because Mom would be on the piano. And then she would play the piano while we, all of my many brothers and sisters, would sing. So that was a tremendous gift that my mother has done.
You have to listen to your parents to get stuff, and if you want it, you have to do what your parents say.
Okay, a piece of wisdom I learned from my mom was mostly love. Never, it's more of the conditions of love that we learn. But she always had shown me that what the fruit of the Spirit was about. She lived by example, and even in discipline, you learn later about how well that applied to you before you understand when you have kids yourself. And there were so many times that
thank you. I've had people ask me how I've ended up comfortable speaking in front of people, and I tell them immediately I got that from my dad. I've also had people ask me how I am able to be patient or look somebody in the eye and listen to them, especially if they're going to just like talk for an hour without stopping, and which happens. And I learned that from Mom. Clearly, I learned that from Mom. She modeled for me that piece of ministry, and that was something I did not learn from seminary either time in seminary. I learned that from Mom, and so Mom, I thank you. We have gifts for the moms, and it's kind of a fun and a reminder and so forth. And so we ask you to help yourself. Grab one of those for your mom, or somebody that you're going to take it to as well. They're available at both doors. These bags are for the moms, and it's got little things in there. I'll just let you discover it on your own. There is a note inside here that explains each thing. There are pieces of candy and other trinkets and so forth, but each of them is meant to be just an encouragement and a thank you for being moms for us. And so help yourself to those later on when you're getting ready to leave. Solomon, he asked God for wisdom, and God gave it to him. He woke up, he realized it was a dream in which he was talking with God and in that, having that wisdom, but it wasn't long after that it said that he ended up with a court case. See, and the question that we have is, we ask God for wisdom, we receive the wisdom, now how are we going to use that wisdom? What will it be used for? Hopefully it's used to build into our children, to train up a child in the way that he or she should go. There are some other things that are kind of details of that. Solomon had two women who were prostitutes who came to him with a court case. They were arguing over a child. You probably know the story, so I'm just going to summarize, but it's there in the sheet that you're going to take home with you. The ladies had both had children right around the same time, within a few days of each other, as a result of being prostitutes. They had children. And not long after they had their children, they woke up one morning, and one lady looked down and she saw that her child that was sleeping next to her was dead. After looking closer, she said, "Wait a minute, this isn't my child." And she looked and realized that the other woman, who was also had a child recently, had swapped the children out because that woman's child had died. And so they brought the case to kind of their supreme court, if you will, which was the king at that time. Solomon heard the case and listened to it, and they started arguing against each other. They both told their side of the story, and it wasn't clear whose child this was. There were no other witnesses. At which point Solomon said, "Okay, stop. Enough with the fighting. Bring the child here." So they brought the child. He said, "Take a sword, cut the child in half, give half to her and half to her." At which point one of the women said, "Fine, that's fair." And the other woman said, "No! Give her the child. It's her child. Give her the child." At which point Solomon said, "The mom who didn't want the child to die is the real mom. Give her her child back." God gave him the wisdom to figure out what was going on in a very difficult court case and returned the child to his rightful mom. It makes me think about what God went through for us. You see, Solomon used God's wisdom to administer justice, which was one of the things he needed to do as king. And for us as parents, we have to administer justice all the time. If you have more than one child, I am sure that at least one of them is a constant reminder that you must be fair, right? They are telling you, that wasn't fair. You have to be fair. You did this for me, you have to do it for her. You did it for me, you got to do it for him. You got to be fair. Fair is justice. Okay? That's what being fair is, being just. Balancing out the scales, treating people the same. And so Solomon used that wisdom for that purpose with the kingdom of Israel, reminding us that God is always fair too, always just. The problem is that, like the mom who didn't want her child to die, God doesn't want us as his children to die either. And the wages of rebellion against God is death. The wages of sin is death. So God wants to be fair, but he loves us so much that he doesn't want us to die. Thank God that he had the wisdom of God, because he came up with a plan. I will send someone who never sins, and so they don't deserve death. That one that I send will live a perfect life and then take death anyway to pay the price for those who do deserve death. Oh, and I will make him my son so that he is infinite in nature and can be a fair swap out for an infinite number of people. That's what he did when he sent his son. I have to wonder what was going on in the heavenly realms when Jesus was going to the cross. I have to wonder if the Heavenly Father was looking down and going, "No! Don't kill him." But for love of all of us, he let him go. He let his son take the penalty that you and I deserve. And that's what we remember when we take communion. As you take the bread, you can remember that Jesus said, "This is my body, which will be given to you." When you take the cup, you can remember that Jesus said, "This is the cup of my blood. It's the cup of the new and everlasting covenant. It will be shed for you, for all people, so that your sins will be forgiven. And when you do this, remember me." Let's take the bread and the cup and remember him.
Have a home, eternal home, but for now I walk this broken world. You walked it first, you know our pain, but you show hope can rise again up from the grave. Abide with me, abide with me, don't let me fall, and don't let go. Walk with me, and never leave, ever close, God abide with me. There is the night, Gethsemane, before the cross, before the nails, overwhelmed, alone you pray, you met us in our suffering and bore our shame. Abide ahead. Eternity will weep no more, will sing for joy, abide with me. We'll weep no more, we'll sing for joy, abide with me. Abide with me, abide with me. Don't let me fall, and don't let go. Walk with me and never leave. Ever close, God abide with me. Ever close, God abide with me. Ever close, God abide with me.
He used the wisdom to administer justice. As you look at more of the story, you find out that he uses it to delegate wisely and to start leading by having people lead smaller groups and take care of various areas, and he becomes a strong leader. We also find as it goes on that he ends up growing the kingdom. It says that it grew so much that the people of Judah and Israel were as numerous as the sand on the seashore. They were content. They had plenty to eat and drink. Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms of the Euphrates River in the north, the land of the Philistines and the border of Egypt in the south. They conquered the peoples of those lands, and those people would send tribute money to Solomon and continue to serve him throughout his lifetime. Even his household was so big that it just took lots and lots of food to support his household. He delegated wisely and he grew the kingdom. He took the wisdom that God gave him and put it to the use that God had given him, the purpose that God had given him in life. The question is, will we do the same? Will we take the wisdom that God gives us and use it for the purposes that he is giving us? In our homes, with our families, at our jobs, our workplaces, in our schools, wherever it is that we go. Now, what we're going to do right now is give gifts to God, thanking him for everything he has given us, and participating in the ministry here. If you want to participate financially, you can do it, knowing that you are giving worship to God and thanks for what he's given you, and participating in a place that empowers people to walk together with God. So let's go ahead and give our gifts at this time.
Well, good morning and happy Mother's Day. My name is Pat Tuttle, and I'm a volunteer at Birthright of Valparaiso. We are a nonprofit charitable organization, and we provide love and support for women facing unplanned pregnancies. We're supported by private donations from our local churches and community, and Valparaiso office has been helping women and their unborn children for over 42 years. We are here to help women make a realistic plan without pressure or judgment. As an abortion alternative, we offer free pregnancy tests, maternity and baby clothes, diapers, as well as referrals to medical, financial, housing, legal, educational, and social services. Birthright services are always free, absolutely confidential, and available to any woman regardless of age, race, religion, marital status, financial situation. Our focus is on loving the mother and helping her to help herself and her unborn child.
How long did you get involved with birthright?
My mom was doing it when I was a kid, and I used to go up
Really?
to the office and after school, and we saw a lot of things. And she was really active in the Porter County Right to Life. My dad actually founded it, and so back then we used to take in the pregnant women into our homes.
Really?
Yeah. So we had a family of 7 kids, and so what's one more?
So did you regularly have?
Yeah, we had, I would say probably about 3 or 4 that I can remember, and my parents' older friends would do the same, but nowadays.
Not all at once, right?
No,
Yeah.
one at a time.
Okay.
So today we have a table set up in the other room, and we're hanging out these things out. If you would take 1 or 2 home with you, or to work or to school, and fill them with your spare change, take them on your checkbook, then in 2 weeks, on May 24th, I will be back to collect them, and it's just that easy. Your support can help us to save them. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Every time I watch that video, I find myself hoping that the truck won't go by. And it always goes by right at that same time. I don't know what it is. Provide services. There you go. If you didn't catch what she was saying, helping Birthright of Valparaiso, it's helping moms in our area who are unexpected moms, or they really weren't expecting, or even maybe they're not wanting that pregnancy, and they're helping them to deal with that. A lot of times the ones that they help at Birthright of Valparaiso, unfortunately, these are a lot of times young moms who whose families turn their back on them because of the embarrassment, I guess, of them getting pregnant out of wedlock. And so they find themselves alone in the world and trying to figure out how to have a child and raise a child. And so Birthright of Valparaiso helps them, gives them a support system and support network. In cases like Pat, that was Pat Tuttle on there, her family would take one of these ladies in on a regular basis, and then then they would bring the next one in and bring the next one in, and they had a home so that they could start raising a child. So if you'd like to participate in that ministry and help them, that's what the baby bottles are for. And while Pat is not here, she's at another church today sharing the information. We have Yolanda is right around the corner where Bill normally sits. She's not around the corner. She's right here she's in this room here. Yolanda will be there. We're at the table where Bill normally sits. We're not sending Yolanda to jail. That's not what it's about. What we're doing is passing these out. Take the baby bottle, take it home with you. Take that spare change that you have, probably sitting on the dresser or sitting in a jar somewhere, and fill the baby bottle with that spare change with whatever money. Bring it back in the next couple of weeks, and we'll make sure that it gets to Birthright Valparaiso. If you'd like to help with kids a little bit further away, we have Operation Christmas Child, of course, we're working toward throughout the year and putting items in there. And in order to ship the boxes, Operation Christmas Child, it costs about $7 a box to ship those when we get to Christmas time. If you'd like to participate with that ministry, there are envelopes in the program where you can participate and pay for shipping of a box or multiple boxes. So a couple different ways that you can participate in helping kids, building into children in Valparaiso and even around the world. I love being a part of this body of Christ. It's just so neat how many ways that we participate in ministry and build up people into Christ, who is the head of the church. It's just so neat to be a part of that. And so I encourage you to participate in whatever way God leads you to participate as well. As we get ready to go from today, I just want to thank you again for the wisdom that you have shared and built into us over the time and over the years. I encourage you to go and to ask God for wisdom as we move forward, so that we have more to build into people around us. And remember that God gave Solomon very great wisdom and understanding, knowledge as vast as the sands of the seashore. Solomon was not alone, and neither are you. In fact, his wisdom exceeded that of all the wise men of East or the wise men of Egypt. His fame spread throughout the surrounding nations. He composed some 3,000 proverbs. If you read the book of Proverbs in the Bible, that's primarily from Solomon. It'll tell you there's little sections that are not from him, and it'll tell you where. But most of that is right from Solomon. And he wrote 1,005 songs. So clearly he learned something from his dad, because David liked to write songs as well. The kings from every nation sent their ambassadors to listen to the wisdom of Solomon. And as we go from here, let's listen to the wisdom of God and take that with us into our lives. Let's walk by faith, letting God lead us every step of the way.
Amen and amen. And again, moms, happy Mother's Day, okay? Oh, let's sing it. 'Cause I walk by faith, each step by faith, to live by faith. I put my trust in you, 'cause I walk by faith, each step by faith, to live by faith. I put my trust in you, 'cause every step I take is a step of faith. When no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every prayer I make is a prayer of faith. 'Cause if my God is for me, then tell me who could be against me. 'Cause I walk by faith, each step by faith, to live by faith. I put my trust in you, 'cause I walk by faith, each step by faith, to live by faith. I put my trust in you, because every step I take is a step of faith. Well, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every prayer I make is a prayer of faith. 'Cause if my God is for me, then tell me who could be against me. 'Cause I walk by faith, each step by faith, to live by faith. I put my trust in you, 'cause I walk by faith, each step by faith, to live by faith. I put my trust in you, 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 I put my trust in you. Go and make it a great, great day and a great week, folks. And happy Mother's Day. Guys, I hope you're grilling out for them today. No? Oh, you made lasagna? Really? For everyone? When do you want us over?